All right, so we're going to start our next lesson now. Actually, for this lesson, we're going to have two learning goals. So we'll do the first learning goal first, and then partway through, you'll see we'll start a new learning goal. So the first learning goal that we're going to do is students will be able to read, write, and represent decimal numbers. Just like with standard numbers or whole numbers, we can read and write decimal numbers in three ways. Okay, the first way that we can write numbers is in standard form. And when we write in standard form, we're going to make sure that we put our decimal point between the ones place value and the tenths place value. So our example would be 123 and 456 thousandths. And you can see the decimal place in between the 3 and the 4 there, and that means the 3 is in the ones place and the 4 is in the tenths place. The second way that we can write our decimals is in word form. It's basically the way that we say the words. If we want to take that same value, we would say 123 and 456 thousandths. Notice that we say and here where the decimal point is. Before, when we were just doing whole numbers, we didn't say the word and, unless it was just a habit that we were doing. But here we're going to say and that's going to represent where the decimal point is. The final way is in expanded form, and in that same value in expanded form, we have 1 times 100, 2 times 10, 3 times 1, 4 times 1/10, 5 times 100th, and 6 times 1,000th. And we'll use our place value chart to see where we got each of those values. In our hundreds place, we have the 1 and 100. In the tens place, we have our 2 and 10. In our ones place, we have the 3 times the 1. And then we get to our decimal numbers. The tenths is 1/10. The hundredths is 1/100th, and our thousandths is 1/1000th. So here's a sample problem. We're going to write 2.35 in word form and in expanded form. So if we were to take that and write it in word form, we would say 2 and 35 hundredths. And if we were to write it in expanded form, we would write it as 2 times 1, 3 times 1/10, plus 5 times 1/100th. Our second sample problem, we're going to write 3 and 614 thousandths in standard form and in expanded form. So we see the and there, so we know that the decimal point is going to come after the 3. So in standard form, it's going to be the 3, the decimal point, and then 614 thousandths. And in expanded form, it would be 3 times 1 plus 6 times 1/10 plus 1 times 1/100th plus 4 times 1/1000th. In our last practice problem, we have a version that's already in expanded form, and we need to write it in standard form and word form. In standard form, that value is 1 and 726 thousandths, and in word form it's 1 and 726 thousandths. Okay, so we're going to work some practice problems here. As usual, pause the video, work out the practice problems, and then restart the video to check your answers. Alright, so for the first practice problem, we're going to write 1.86 in word form and expanded form. In word form, it's 1 and 86 hundredths. In expanded form, it's 1 times 1 plus 8 times 1/10 plus 6 times 1/100th. Our second practice problem, we're going to write 4 and 733 thousandths in standard form and expanded form. In standard form, it's 4.733. And in expanded form, it's 4 times 1 plus 7 times 1/10 plus 3 times 1/100th plus 3 times 1/1000th. And in our last practice problem, we have it in expanded form. We write it in standard form, it's 8.349. And in word form, it's 8 and 349 thousandths. So if you have any questions about that, please bring them to class and we will go over them then. So we're going to move on to our second learning goal for this video. This learning goal, students will be able to compare and order decimal numbers. So there's times when we're going to need to know whether or not a decimal number is greater than, less than, or equal to another decimal number. So we're going to use a particular strategy that helps us do that, and we're going to use the place values to determine which value is less than or greater than. And we're always going to start from the leftmost place value. All right, so whatever the biggest value is the one that we're going to start with. If that value is larger, then of course the number is greater than. If the value is smaller, then the number is going to be less than. And if the value is the same, then we're going to move one place value to the right, and we're going to compare those using the same rules that we had up above. So we keep repeating until we figure out whether or not they're greater than, less than, or equal to. We use symbols to represent these relationships, and you're probably familiar with these already. The symbol for less than, it's kind of a V on its side, and the point of the V is pointing to the left. The greater than symbol, again, it's a V kind of tilted on its side, but this time the point is pointed to the right. And then of course we all know the equal sign. The way that I remember the symbols is I remember that the point of the greater than or less than sign always points to the smaller number. So as long as you have it pointing to the smaller number, then you'll have the correct symbol. So let's do a sample problem. The first sample problem is we're going to use the correct symbol to show how 2.495 compares to 2.488. Okay, so we're going to use our strategy to determine which one is, if 2.495 is less than, greater than, or equal to 2.488. So we start with the leftmost number and we compare. 2 and 2 are the same, so we're going to move to the next value to the right. We look at this one, it says 4 and 4. They're the same, so we're going to move to the next value to the right. We look at 9 and 8. Since 9 is larger than 8, then this whole number here is going to be larger than this number here. And we're going to use the greater than symbol to represent that. And we know that the greater than or less than symbol always points to the smaller number. All right, so we're going to draw that sideways V, and we're going to have it point toward the smaller number. So 2.495 is greater than 2.488. And so we would write the comparison 2.495 greater than 2.488 in our answer column. Let's do another sample problem. First of all, there's times when we're going to have more than two numbers. When we're going to compare more than two numbers, we're going to usually put them in an order, either ascending or descending. Ascending means that we're going to be starting with the smallest value and ordering them up to the largest value. Descending is the opposite of that, and so we start with the largest value and we end with the smallest value. So now let's do a sample problem. We have three numbers here. 2.735, 2.729, and 2.731. And we're going to put those values in ascending order. So it's going to be smallest to largest. Okay, so I've written down the numbers that they've given us, and we're going to use the same comparison that we did before. We start on the leftmost side. We look at these. They all have 2 as a value, so we move one place over. So now we're in the tens place, and we look at that, and they all have 7. So we're going to move one over. We see 3, 2, 3, 2 is smaller than the 3, so this is going to be our first number. Since the 3's are the same, we have to move over one more value, and we compare the 5 and the 1. Notice we don't compare the 9. We just compare the ones that are left over. So we compare the 1 and the 5. The 1 is less than 5, and so the 1 is going to be our second value in order. And the top one will be our third value. And then in your answer, you're going to rewrite these in order. So it's going to be 2.729. And then you're going to have 2.731. And then you're going to have 2.735. And so these are the 3 numbers written in order. And so check your answer, make sure you wrote it down correctly. Now let's do some practice problems. Go ahead and do these 2 practice problems. Again, pause the video. And then after you work out the problems, restart the video and check your answers. Alright, so let's check our answers. The first one, we're going to compare 2.485 to 2.493. And 2.485 is less than, so we're going to use the less than symbol, 2.493. In our second sample problem, we're going to do it in descending order, which means we're going to have the largest number first. And when you do that, this is the answer. If you missed anything or you're confused about how to do these problems, please bring your questions to class tomorrow, and we'll answer those questions there. That's all we have for tonight, so have a great evening.